Hello and welcome to Electric Virgins, a podcast brought to you with Green Flag that puts celebrities into electric cars for their first time and then finds out what they really think of them. I'm Ginny Buckley.
And I'm Tom Ford, but not the good one. So, Ginny, let's not waste any time this week. Who is our electric virgin?
So our guest this week is a man who has pretty much covered every base in the entertainment business.
You have to be a bit more specific than that.
He's probably best known for his music career. He is one of the best known radio DJs in the UK. He's even played support to Elton John.
What?
His initials are TA.
Come on, Tom.
I know.
Go on.
I know it is. It's that guy from Spandau Ballet. It's Tony Hadley.
Oh, you are so rubbish. Tony Hadley.
It's not him then?
No, it's definitely not him then. Okay, our guest this week is the multi-talented and all-round entertainer and music man, Mr. Toby Anstis.
Of course!
Yay! Gold! Always believe in your soul.
How did you not recognise the voice?
It was the laugh that put me off. He sounds like a murderer. In a nice way.
Oh, Toby.
Nice to meet you too, Tom.
Yeah, how you doing?
Are you sure you want to do this podcast? Should we just,
I can't wait to do it.
Now you've started talking, I totally recognise it.
What's really weird, though, is when people sort of come up and say, oh, you're that guy off Heart. And you think, well, hang on a minute. How do you recognise me off the radio? It's like,
Yeah.
Maybe because every time I go on the tube or anywhere near London, I see your face. Your face is all over London on billboards. That's probably a giveaway.
I can only apologise for that. I know. They were only going to last for a month, and a year and a half later, we're still getting a little bit of promotion for the show, which is great. I'm not knocking it.
Toby, you and your voice may well be familiar to most of London and everybody, and me, actually.
And the world.
But we've got to ask you some questions. So, Tell us about your relationship with cars. Are you into cars? Do you like cars?
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, I'm not a car fanatic, but I do like driving, and I've probably sat in and driven and owned most cars that there are ever since I've got my first car.
That's quite a wide.
So
Well, actually, no, do you know what? That's probably a bit of a generalisation. I've not actually driven a Rolls Royce. I've not driven a Bentley. I've not driven a Jaguar, which I really want to drive an XJ6, and I want an XJS. Oh. But ever since I was sort of 18, 19, and I moved up to London, and there was a really nice car dealership near me, and I always used to cycle by and look at the cars in there, and I had just a rubbishy little... What did my first car? It was like an MG Metro was my first car.
And you're still here.
Remember the black one with the MG did a Metro, yeah. And anyway, I eventually traded that in, and then I got, I think, for a VW Golf. And then every sort of 4 or 5 months, I got bored of the car that I was in. So I'd drive out there and speak to Barry that owned this dealership in Chiswick. And I'd look around. He said, oh, go and have a look around, see if there's anything you like. But like being in a candy shop. And I'd then go and see, I quite like that one out the back, that Golf GTI. So I'd then trade that in, lose a load of money. 6 months later, get bored of the Golf, trade that one in, lose a load of money. Barry's laughing all the way to the bloody bank, and he knew it. But over a period of years, I had like a different car every 4 or 5 months.
Good man.
But I never had any loyalty to any one particular brand. I think at some stage, I really wanted a Mercedes, and I wanted an SLK, but I had no money. That was pipe dreams at the time. But I sat in every Golf and Seat and... Fiat and all those little cars that were just about affordable over a period of time. Yeah, I love cars and I love driving.
Well, thank you for agreeing to go electric for us. And I guess we ought to reveal to everyone the car that we gave you. We know music and sound, they play a massive part in your life, don't they? So you're all about music.
All about the tunes.
So we wanted to find you an electric car that sounds good in quite a few different ways. So we agreed that they don't come a lot better or louder than the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Everything with Ford on it is good.
And it's absolutely brilliant sound system. So let's have a listen to your first impressions when you saw the car.
It's beautiful. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. It might be electric, which shouldn't mean at all that it's going to look any different to any other car. It just looks better than most other cars. Just looking around it now, I mean, it's just gleaming in the sunshine. The next thing is to chuck my golf clubs in the boot. I'm off to play a round of golf, and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy driving this beautiful thing down to Henley.
Did you think electric cars had 6 wheels or something?
You know what, the thing is, because I think what I was trying to convey and probably didn't convey very well is that I think all of us that have been driving petrol cars, as we have done for so many years. And then there's this move towards electric. And we know that at some point we won't be able to drive a petrol car anymore. So we know it's coming. There's electric there. But we still won't make the move because people don't like change, essentially, do they? And before everybody makes a big move to change to an electric car, they've got to be convinced by a lot of things. And so I probably made it sound like some kind of monster was going to be arriving in my street. I think just because there are a lot of misgivings out there about it. People don't know enough about electric yet, and they're going to have to learn. But you just think it's going to be something different. It isn't. It's different, but it's so much better than I ever imagined. From the moment I got in, I couldn't fault it. Even to the point where everybody talks about range phobia, don't they? People think about electric cars, they think, oh my God, we're going to go on a long trip and all we're going to worry about is the battery running down. And we don't want that stress. Well, mine rocked up, and I think it's got a range of 300 miles. It only had 75% of the battery. By the time I'd done the round trip to Henley, stopped off at Mum and Dad's for a cup of tea and a slice of Battenberg cake on the way back to London, and got back, I still had over 200 miles in the left on the battery.
So it's still working.
It's interesting that you've got a charging point outside your house now as well. And that just gives you that sense of, I guess, security, doesn't it? Because you can't charge at home. You can't necessarily have one on your house. But to know there's one outside the door, it's just reassuring, I guess, is it?
Well, the irony being as well that they'd only just put that charger in on the lamppost right in front of my house, like the day before the Ford Mustang arrived. So it couldn't have come at a better time.
Thank you. We arranged it.
Thank you very much. Well done, Tom.
What I want to know is how long if you had sort of 280, 300 mile range, how long would that last you if you're just pottering around? Is that a 10 days, 2 weeks, a week?
Hey, listen, I hardly ever drive because in London, I cycle everywhere pretty much when I'm in London. I get the tube into Leicester Square to go and do the work on, to work on Hart. And I come back and I cycle to the gym. Because it's too, you've got the ULEZ and everything else in London. You've got
you could drive in though.
Against you.
You can take your electric cars into. Oh. Yeah, it's you don't pay congestion charging, free parking in Westminster in an electric car.
Which is why a lot of people buy a relatively cheap little electric runaround to be in London because it actually saves you money.
It is a really big thing that does attract people, particularly that live in London, because the air quality is so rubbish, isn't it? So if you're going to have a car in a city, this is the one to have.
Well, absolutely right. Of course, you're going to be better off. But also, from a health point of view, I mean, I get asthma. I just did an article recently for the Mail about how polluted London is and how it's affecting people and children. Again, more and more kids are getting asthma. And, bumping people up to electric has got to be the way forward. And there's something really quite satisfying and lovely about when I was driving along if that was a petrol car, that thing would be polluting wouldn't it? Every step of the way, you'd be chucking stuff out into the atmosphere. When you're driving past a crowd of kids or whatever, and you're in that car and it's just cruising along and you know in yourself that you aren't damaging anyone or anything is a wonderfully fulfilling thing, isn't it?
It's wonderful. My mum has chronic asthma as well. And then becoming a mum myself, they were part of the reasons that really made me probably embrace electric cars perhaps earlier than a lot of other people have done.
You told me it was because they're really fast.
Okay, maybe that as well. Just a bit because they're really fast. But listen, let me just, what I love, I'm going to play a clip now because you say something in this that really makes me laugh, and it's the thing that everybody says when they get in an electric car for the first time. So let's listen to this.
Right, I've just jumped inside and immediately you got this lovely sense of space and feel very high in this car. My other car is a little sports car, so you actually drop into it, as opposed to this, you kind of climb into it and feel very kind of empowered. It's a beautiful looking interior, really nice, comfortable seats. But the next thing is to switch it on. Right, so apparently that is now, the car is now running. You wouldn't know because it's just silent. This is the weirdest thing. So I'm just going to pop this into gear in a moment and set off.
And there you go.
It's always difficult knowing whether they're actually on or not.
Isn't it a weird sensation?
Yeah. Yes, it is quiet, but it's got a purr. Because obviously you hear the traction of the rubber against the road. Yeah. You don't, and when you're going down the motorway, it's not completely silent because obviously you hear that, don't you? But when you just setting off, there is a sound, but it's just something you've never experienced before. When you've got in a petrol car, you turn it on and you rev it up and you put your foot on the accelerator. This thing, you just put your foot on slightly on it and off it purrs down the street in all its glory, just looking absolutely beautiful. But it was that sense of, oh yes, is it on or not?
Did that freak you out? Did it feel really odd?
No, do you know, weirdly, it didn't. I just seemed to acclimatise to everything about it.
Quickly.
Really, really quickly. I almost like, and I've never driven one before, I felt so at home in it, more at home than I do when I get into my car.
That's
and
weird,
this was something
though.
completely new. Almost like there's a premonition going on that I'm going to do this one day anyway.
Yeah.
So don't be frightened about it. This is the future, and there's something very exciting about grabbing onto that and going with the future. There's something, isn't there? Something quite lovely about that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I quickly ask you guys a question?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the way that technology is advancing, and obviously electric cars and batteries and range and everything else are changing, every month, every year. So if I buy an electric car now, won't it be sort of outdated 12 months down the line, and I'll be stuck with something that I can't sell or I don't want?
That's a really, really good question. And there's a couple of things going on. One, battery chemistry isn't jumping leagues and leagues ahead. So in 2 years' time, it's not going to have twice the range and twice the power. It's still going to be a usable 300 miles. The new ones aren't going to be 600 miles. There's a limit to how much range people are going to put into batteries.
Okay.
The other thing is you can over-the-air update the software that allows your batteries to charge. So when certain cars were launched, last year, Jen, they had, say, 77 kilowatt charging. Then you downloaded an update that allowed them to do 100 kilowatt charging. It happened with Volkswagens. So they actually can upgrade the car. Like you download a software update for your mobile.
Yes.
You do exactly the same thing with your car. So it allows it to charge quicker. Naturally, with the technology evolving very quickly, in 5 years' time, it will be a different playing field.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
So it won't make the car useless, but it will make it less current.
And you'll pay more for all those as well. There's a company called Fisker who's coming out with an electric car, and it's a really clever model because what you do, you'll pay about £34,000 for the base model, which is a really nice luxury SUV. But then you'll pay for all these over-the-air updates. So it's going to be a really different way of buying and choosing cars.
Would you be able to trade in a car that really?
Yeah, at the moment there's a massive market for used electric cars. We've got colleagues who are running like really old Nissan Leafs. There's still a market for them.
Listen, we know that you're a DJ, right? So music and sound is all really important to you. And one of the best places to listen to music, in my opinion, is in a car because it's just the perfect environment for it. Do you do that as well?
Well, I think that the nice thing about driving is that, and I normally drive on my own, as I say, I've only got a two-seater normally. And I love being in my own world. And that's the one time you have to yourself. And it's the one time I have to go through tunes as well. So if I'm going to be playing a set somewhere and I've downloaded or dumped a whole load of maybe 20 new dance tracks or something on my phone, and hooking up in the Mustang was so seamless and effortless, navigating around the whole sound system. And actually, this thing was just so easy.
That's Ford's Sync 4.
It's beautiful. Sync 4 is the way forward.
Let's listen to what you made of the sound system, though.
What does it sound like? We'll play a tune. So let's get one on and see what we think. Let's turn it up a little bit. See what this thing can do. That is pretty good. Actually, I'm getting a few funny looks now from neighbours in my street. I've actually parked up to do this. Where's that noise coming from? It's coming from Club Mach-E, by the way.
Club Mach-E.
So what?
No, and it's weird because I do this thing on the breakfast show every morning, which is school run ravers, and loads of people really getting into it. And so people text me from their cars. You get all the mums and dads taking their kids to school, and the mums and dads are reliving their rave days. And the kids are kind of being educated in dance music, and they all text in saying, "Hi, we're in Club Ionic, or in Club IS4, we're in Club Yaris, we're in Club." And that's quite a big part of the whole thing is what car you're in. And then we have this big. I let off this klaxon when somebody's actually said, "We've converted to an electric."
Do you?
So I had somebody on Tuesday saying, after the bank holiday last week, saying, "Toby, not only have we just discovered you, but we've retuned you, but we've also just converted to an electric car. And we're in a Club E." And it's like, wow. And everybody gets quite excited about it. And I get excited for them. And I say, "I've driven an electric car. I know why you're so buzzing."
You know what we're doing next week?
We're going to phone in.
We're phoning into Toby's show. Of course we are.
You are going to be official school run ravers.
Oh, it'll be a little bit of
we both do the school run, don't we? Yeah,
yeah.
We're both,
get it
we're
on
both
then.
regulars on that. Right, let's just go back a bit to the drive, actually, because We've touched a bit on, the performance and the fact that they are really quick. But let's just hear what you actually made of it when you did get your foot down.
My God, does this thing go when you put your foot down? I don't know if that's indicative of all electric cars, but I mean, the torque, the brake horsepower when it kicks in on this mother of a car is phenomenal. It really is. Not that I've been speeding.
Caveat.
I was 70 miles an hour all the way down that M4 to Henley, I'll have you know, before anyone stops.
You notice it though, don't you?
Oh, you do. And because it's quiet, it's an incredible thing to experience. That when you just put it down and off it goes. And that's quite a big car as well, but there's a hell of a lot of brake horsepower behind that. And that's one of the things I thought electric cars weren't like that. I thought electric cars would take ages to get up to speed. I don't know why I thought that, but my God, did it change my whole view on them.
Electric's really good at acceleration and less good at sort of super high top speeds. So it's the opposite with petrol. So they have to work a lot harder to get the car moving, and then they're better at top speed. But electric is really punchy between sort of 0 and 70.
Which is kind of where you need it, really.
Which is what you need. The problem with that is, if you boot it, they do tend to drop their range quite significantly. So if you constantly accelerate really hard, you'll, like in a petrol car or diesel car, if you're doing that all the time, you will affect your range.
Yeah.
But you actually didn't seem to have too much of a problem with that, did you?
No, I didn't. And also the other thing is, I thought that what happens if you, and this applies to, again, what I said before about people getting range phobia, and if you're on a long trip on a Friday night or something, and what about if you get stuck in traffic, and you're stop-starting the whole time? That would use petrol.
Yeah, it doesn't with electric.
It doesn't use battery up, does it?
It doesn't. I'm going to move us back now to sound, but not the sound system, not the tunes. I want to talk about the sound of cars. So we've already determined that electric cars are quiet, but not everybody thinks they should be quiet. And as you are our sound guru, do you give electric cars a fake sound or do you not? Did you notice the sound in the Mach-E when you really got it up to speed? It has a fake sound, which is meant to kind of sound a bit like an engine. Let's just remind you the artificial sound that's been created for the Mach-E.
So it's kind of like an engine, but not. It's like a digital
Completely
engine.
artificial. It doesn't need to be there. But there's this huge discussion about, should electric cars have sounds?
As I said to you before, when I first turned it on and got over the whole thing of like, oh my God, is it actually on or not? Because it was so quiet. But then when you just put your foot down and it purrs a bit, and then when you're going at 70 miles an hour on the motorway, well, you've got the rubber, you've got the friction anyway on the road. And I thought that was the sound of the car. But there is... Maybe that's it. And when you hear that, that is a proper...
It's a proper purr.
That's quite an engine sound out there. And I quite like that. The
interesting thing is they use a bit of that to sort of cancel out some of the uncooler noises. So, some of the white noise of driving and the wind noise that you'd get and you'd hear because there's no engine noise. They put that little kind of bassy purr in so that's what you hear rather than like the whoosh of the air.
And is that something that they're going to play with, that you can have more or less?
Oh, Toby Anstis, we have a thing for you now.
Yes.
On that very subject.
Da, da, da. We've
got some noises we're going to play you, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to identify, out of these 4, which one is not an electric car.
All right.
Let's hear Exhibit A. And this is Exhibit B. Look at his face. Toby's gobsmacked. And let's listen to our third piece of music. And finally, Exhibit D.
Now, don't forget, Toby, that 3 of those are real cars that you can go out and buy now. And only one of them is...
Yeah, the other one's an aeroplane, isn't it?
We're not telling you.
I don't know.
No.
Could this be a red herring? Could they actually all be electric
They're not all
cars?
electric cars, I promise you.
That's amazing.
So which one do you think was the faker?
Well, I think the third one's definitely an aeroplane, isn't it?
The third one's an aeroplane.
It's kind of an aeroplane.
It sounded like a blimmin' 737 taking off, that thing did. Those jets revving up.
Okay, should we go through them for you? Let's play the first one again. We'll tell you what it is. This is actually
A Porsche Taycan. And if you listen, the only reason I can tell you it's a Taycan, as well as the noise, is because it changes gear, and it's one of the very few electric cars that has a 2-speed gearbox.
That's a Taycan.
That is quite something. That really does make a roar.
Yeah.
It sounds like an
See,
Aston.
I thought this would be the one that would get you a second sound. It is a Fiat 500 electric.
And I hate it more than life itself.
But let me tell you though, this sound, Toby, was designed, composed by a guy called Nino Rota. He's Italian. My Italian's not good. Your Italian would be better than mine. He composed also the soundtracks for The Godfather.
Oh my God. I was going to say it's like Jean-Michel Jarre-esque.
He's incredible. He's like a
They're
John
doing
Williams.
all of that. In BMW, Ginny, you were telling me earlier, at BMW, they got
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer's doing the BMW sounds.
So Hans Zimmer...
Yeah, Hans Zimmer from The Lion King and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Did the keys to my Bimmer. I've done that wrong. I've completely...
What are you trying to say?
I was going to say Hans Zimmer did the noise to my Bimmer, which would only land with people
Very
from the
good.
90s.
Is it good? Are you being polite there, Toby? Is it very good?
But he did.
The keys
He
to my
composed
Beamer
it.
in a rush. I get the keys to my car.
Okay, no. Right, so let's listen to the one that you think. So this is you pick number 3.
It's an aeroplane. I'm sorry. That is a jet.
It's the Millennium
Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon. What? And I'm such a big Star Wars fan. How did I not get that? But I was right in saying it was an aircraft, though.
Yeah.
And then we won't bother with the last one again because did go on a bit. It's the sound of one of the very earliest electric cars, the Renault Zoe.
And so it's just a little bit boring. So they've got more creative as time goes on. So by next year, we'll be having full orchestras playing as your car drives down the road.
Will you have an option in your car to sound a particular
You can have it
way?
sounding
So you can
any
switch
way
it
you
on.
want.
You know, it's Monday morning. I think we'll want it to sound like an orchestra. Or Tuesday, I want to make it sound like AC/DC.
You can already do that. But the manufacturers have chosen, specific sounds for their cars. But there is no reason why you couldn't have your car sounding any which way you want.
You'd be so sad though, wouldn't you, driving around in your lovely Nissan Leaf, but actually you've got it tuned up to sound like a Ferrari GTO.
In your Kia Sportage, sound like a Ferrari. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it?
So, well, you've been electrified for a bit, haven't you? So Tom and I reckon you must be something of an expert.
Oh, here we go.
So we've got a little quiz for you, another quiz, because we like quizzes. As I'm sure you know, Toby, because I'm sure you check this first thing every morning when you make a cup of tea before you go on air, together with Green Flag, we have a word of the day.
Word of the day.
Oh, Tom, we don't have that theme tune with it. Tom just likes to sing that.
So what we're going to do is to make sure... I love that. Word of the day.
I don't love that much.
And that's why I sing it. So what we wanted to do is to see if you've been paying attention to the whole electric thing. We're going to give you the description of a common electric car term, and all you got to do is pick the right answer, right? Okay?
So drum roll for our word of the day, please. Toby Anstis, which of the following is a term for a car that is powered by a battery and nothing else? Is it A, a HEV?
Is it B, a BEV?
Or is it C,
A PHEV, a FEV? Now, this is a hard
a
one.
HEV, a BEV, or a FEV?
I think, is it HEV?
No.
It's not. You do not get a gold star.
You don't get the gold star.
It's BEV.
It's BEV. It is BEV.
No, sorry, you misheard me. BEV with a B, guys.
Yes.
Was that a glitch on the mic?
Something wrong with your mics or your technical setup, it's BEV. It's BEV. Begins B for battery.
So just for clarity, A is hybrid electric vehicle, B is battery electric vehicle, and a C is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle.
Only one of those is an electric vehicle, the others are not.
Yeah, the other ones are kind of fakers.
Now, do remember, everyone, that the great thing about Green Flag is that if you're unlucky enough to break down or get a puncture, they will send a specialist from your closest garage to come and give you a hand.
Ginny?
Yes?
Will they do that both in the day and the night?
They will do that in the day or in the night, Tom. Don't panic. You'll be covered for those late night runs to the kebab shop.
Brilliant.
Now, we've got one final clip that I just want to play for you.
Oh, go on.
Because it's nearly time for us to go. So let's find out how you felt at the end of your Mustang Mach-E experience.
Driving around in this beautiful Ford Mustang Mach-E has been an actual revelation. And I always knew that a Ford Mustang was going to be a fun one to drive, and they look great. But an electric one, it's even more fun than driving a petrol version.
Wow.
All right, that's heresy, but I like it.
You liked it, didn't you?
Did you really think that?
Yes, I do, because I think it's something new that I want to embrace because of all the great things about electric. And, we're going to have to do it. And I think, as I said to you before, I like to be there to embrace it. You feel like you're doing something good. Plus the fact that it's even the interior looks better than any petrol car I've been in. The exterior looks better than any petrol car I've been in. It sounds and feels and roars down the motorway like no other car I've driven, with that purr. Means I'm an absolute convert, and it was something really special to do. And I thank you very much for giving that chance to use it.
I mean, that's mega.
I didn't want to let that car go. I was really quite emotional saying goodbye to it.
Oh.
I'm like, right, I want to get one, but I need something more practical size.
We can help.
So I'm gonna,
you know where to come.
I'll have a little look at electrifying.com and see what I can go, because much that I love my Mercedes SLK. I've had it. Don't laugh. It's not a hairdresser's car either. It's a very lovely car. I don't feel I need that anymore. What I do think I need to do is get an electric car and just stay with one and never go back, and get used to that and get real with that. And that experience has done that for me. So
that's magic.
That is magic.
Do you want to know something we actually have to do now officially? So we have to say to you, I'm not going to actually bet on you saying no now.
No.
But as they say in the police dramas, for the benefit of the tape, Toby Anstis, would you be considering an electric car for your next vehicle?
Yes.
Yay! Oh, that is brilliant.
It will. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have been if I'd not driven the Mustang, but that does.
But it felt really heartfelt. You really heartfelt. I did it. I got it in.
Oh, you got heartfelt.
There you
that
go.
felt like you really actually connected with that, and it made a difference to how you felt about electric cars.
I did connect with it. It didn't just make me feel better about electric cars. It made me feel better about myself. I don't say that lightly. I think just because, I do get asthma, and even lately, the pollution, the air quality in London is absolutely awful. And if we can all get to that point where you have that almost epiphany and think, right, that's it, I'm never going to go back, I'm going to go with electric, and there are enough cars out there to choose from, and this is the way forward, then great. Because not only you'll feel good about driving it, but we all won't get so wheezy.
Good reasoning.
Because we'll breathe in better air. So, you know what I mean? So why would I want to go? Why on earth, after everything I've said, and health-wise, why on earth would I want to go and buy another petrol car?
Five.
That seems like the perfect point, I think, to end this week's podcast. Toby Anstis, thank you.
You've been brilliant, mate.
You have been an absolute star, and thank you so much for breaking your electric car virginity with electrifying.com.
It's a pleasure. I'd have done it with no one else, believe me.
Thank you. and let us know what you get. We're excited to know.
Nice one.
I will. You're gonna help me.
Absolutely.
We'll be there for you, Toby. Don't worry.
So that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed hearing about Toby's first time, and let's face it, we never forget our first time, do we? Please do like and subscribe and share so we can spread the word. Tom, stop laughing.
And if you want to know more about electric cars, we have everything you need to know about making the switch and choosing the best electric car for you over at electrifying.com. And Toby, we will help you buy your next electric vehicle.
So from all of us, goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.